Chris with another top-down review here. A little change in the top-down review for today. Originally, I was going to do a solo review for just War for the Planet of the Apes, but considering that I went and saw the entire trilogy back-to-back, which included Rise, Dawn, and War for the Planet of the Apes, I thought it would be a good time to just take a big step back and talk about the whole trilogy as a whole and then mention War of the Planet of the Apes. So, clear and present danger for spoilers on Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and the new and in theaters officially Friday, but premiere-wise tomorrow, War for the Planet of the Apes. So, let's start with the one that started it all, Rise for the Planet of the Apes. So, at first, we meet a scientist by the name of Will Rodman who's attempting to discover a cure for Alzheimer's. And he is pretty sure that his drug is definitely the cure that's definitely going to be able to fix everything, and he's testing it on this chimp subject named Bright Eyes. Bright Eyes is about to be shown to the board of directors to influence them to support him in getting this drug on the market and getting it towards human trials. Bright Eyes, in short, goes berserk, ends up crashing into the press conference, and Will is shocked when they kill her. Turns out Bright Eyes was not actually crazy after all. Turns out she actually had a kid named Caesar. Caesar is a test subject that was born from Bright Eyes at the Genesis Lab facility where Will works, and Caesar and Will begin to form a bond. Caesar ends up being treated as an equal in pet form, but then an equal in human status. Will refers to him as his son and Caesar as his father. Caesar's intelligence constantly grows, and he begins forming a revolution, which becomes the rise of the Planet of the Apes. So that's the general basis of what the movie is about, just to give you my thoughts on it. So Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it's the first movie. To be honest, when I first saw the trailer for Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I was a little bit skeptical. The last Planet of the Apes that I had actually seen was the 2001 version, and it left a pretty bad taste in my mouth. So I immediately thought when I first saw it back in 2011, it's just like, oh yeah, immediate flop, it's not going to do it. The film itself was actually very surprising, basically driven by Andy Serkis's performance and James Franco's performance, and the entire cast, just a beautiful ensemble and very well directed by Rupert Wyatt, who did a great job of basically reigniting the Planet of the Apes franchise. A lot of Easter eggs here and there in between this movie and the original Planet of the Apes, and I thought it was very well done, and it set the tone of this trilogy that would continue with Dawn and then War of the Planet of the Apes. So essentially, Rise ends with Caesar leading this ape rebellion against the humans, and then eventually escaping into the redwoods in San Francisco, and basically starting this new ape community. Then we have Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Basically takes place a bit longer after Rise, 10 years. Caesar has sort of established this community of apes and everything, and is basically hoping to just live an ordinary life, just believing that the humans have gone and are dead. And it's also key to mention that at the end of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, there was this virus, the ALZ-113, as Will calls it, which then by Dawn is dubbed the simian flu, which basically kills all the humans on the planet and leaves a select percentage of humans that were either immune to it or so. And that will be further explained once I get to War. But let's just focus on Dawn for right now. So Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Caesar is basically living a pretty happy life. He has this community of apes and everything. He has Koba from the first movie that's joined him as a brother and fellow soldier. He has a wife now, a teenage son, and a new baby boy that's just been born. Now Caesar's happy living this life, but then humans come into his territory and are demanding to try and fix the power that is so depleting from their resources back in San Francisco. They need a hydroelectric dam to basically boost their power back to where it needs to be so that they can survive. Now, at first glance, Caesar wants absolutely nothing to do with the humans and just wants them to be separated from the apes. Basically, maintain a peace. It goes back to that whole thing, apes together, strong, and all that. But basically, what ends up happening is that Koba, one of Caesar's soldiers, ends up going against Caesar, turns rogue, and starts this eventual war, which will be concluded in War for the Planet of the Apes, which pins the humans against the apes. Now, initial reactions. I was very hyped for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes when it first came out. Coming off the success of Rise, Dawn definitely edged it up about 1,000 times more. It was good. The performances were amazing. The motion capture technology only got even better with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and it was a story about emotion and just the fall of one civilization and the rise of another, or in this case, the dawn of another. And just that whole performance that Andy Serkis and Toby Kebbell gave of the going back of Koba and Caesar is just amazing and absolutely well done. And I was just amazed, and it blew me away when I first saw it back in 2014. And now we have War for the Planet of the Apes. And War for the Planet of the Apes is basically the culmination of Rise and Dawn and now this film. It basically completes Caesar's journey as it began in Rise and sort of brings everything full circle. It is truly, at least how they've marketed it, the end. I don't know about the end of the series in general, but this will definitely be the end of Caesar's tale. So essentially, War for the Planet of the Apes picks up about 2 years after Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and it is definitely a warish time for the apes. They've suffered huge casualties. They have the soldiers of the leftover group that was called at the end of Dawn basically chasing them, trying to find Caesar and eliminate him immediately. Caesar is just trying to keep apes together and is just trying to hold down the fort. Doesn't want anything to do with the war, just wants it to end, and is just trying to hold on to his alliance. Everything goes a little south when the Colonel, played by Woody Harrelson, comes in and straight up murders his family. By that point, Caesar's just like, okay, stuff needs to get real, and it just becomes a quest of revenge and everything. And what I like about this movie immediately is just, it's like the others, it's an emotional story, and Caesar is driven and probably pushed more than he ever has in any of the other movies in this one. He sort of he has to go back to his roots. He's a prisoner again, but in a different way, an actual prisoner of war instead of an actual prisoner of humanity as he was in Rise. And it makes a lot of comparison to Rise, as well as it gives off a whole bunch of Easter eggs, I must add, from the original Planet of the Apes. They name drop Nova from the original Planet of the Apes. They name drop Caesar's second son's name, who they had not given a name in the second movie, but they do in this one, and it turns out it's Cornelius, which is another name drop from the original Planet of the Apes movie. Just a whole bunch of slew of Easter eggs, a whole bunch of fan service is given in this absolute movie, and it ultimately ends with Caesar just standing off against this amazing Colonel played very well by Woody Harrelson, and it explains that the virus that was released in the beginning of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and that would go on to infect humanity, and those that survived it and would become immune to it would eventually lose the ability to speak and talk, and basically de-evolve in a sense, basically allowing the apes to rise from the fall of humanity. And little tidbits like that basically explain how our planet would then become this planet of the apes in a way. So in a sense, the whole trilogy as a whole, believe me, is all about emotion at the end. I mean, to have this character, this Caesar character that's portrayed beautifully by Andy Serkis, is just breathtaking to watch, because you see his struggle from like a very young age to like a leader that has to make tough decisions when it comes at his door, and he had no idea that it was going to happen, but it's something that he has to deal with. and I think it couldn't have been a better ending to Caesar's story. Now, where does the series go from this point going forward, and should it go somewhere forward? My answer is sort of yes and no. It could end here, and I would absolutely not mind it, but considering the amount of stuff that they introduced into this third film, it seems like they should continue it. But maybe not from Caesar's point of view, one, because he's dead, and two, because maybe it's time to see another Apes perspective. Sort of like Caesar is compared to as the Moses character, and that this biblical journey of his has sort of ended and is allowed for another one to begin. But definitely from the culmination of Rise in 2011 to War of the Planet of the Apes in 2017, I can definitely tell you that this trilogy is absolutely perfect. I would set it alongside perfect trilogies like Back to the Future or maybe even the Dark Knight trilogy. It is that good. It is well done. The performances are stellar, and the story is very emotional at heart, and it really hits home. I mean, when they have you rooting for apes to win instead of humans, then you know that it's good. So let me know what you guys thought about the entire Planet of the Apes trilogy, the first three films, Rise, Dawn, and eventually War. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend you go see War of the Planet of the Apes, but I'm assuming you have since you're watching this review. So let me know what you thought of the entire trilogy, and where do you think the series should go next, should it continue? Or do you think that the series is fine where it is after War of the Planet of the Apes, and do you think that it shouldn't continue? And that is my review, so I will see you guys in the next video. I will be doing, I believe, Atomic Blonde will be my next movie, but I think I'm going to just let this review simmer and let it allow everyone, of course, who hasn't seen Planet of the Apes to come in and see it. But I am Chris, and I will see you in the next video. Adios.